Just a moment. All right. Hey, everybody. Saving some of the most interesting content for last. We are here with Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus and Gunsaullus with an S, not a Z, but it's already I'm not distinguishing it very well. Hey, everybody. This is going to be a really great adult conversation, and feel free to type in any questions that you have. As always, when we're about to record the conversation, not going to be able to acknowledge those in real time unless you have a really fast question. Let us know who you are, where you're coming in from, and if you're watching this and it's not live anymore, you can still ask a question or whatever. Dr. Jen is going to be looking at this, and we're just Facebook Live-ing. Here in the time being. Dr. Jen is originally from Philadelphia as well, so she's in San Diego now, but I mean we're just kind of catching up on the local scoop a little bit, and yeah, we're going to get started here in a moment, and I'll just kind of put some little guided stuff for everybody once we are in the actual recorded video. And I'm taking another look in my little tiny font spreadsheet, and it looks like I can actually read that, which is good. So, Dr. Jen, you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this.
And it's drjensden.com. Hey, Andrea, it's good to see you. She says hi, so that's good. Before I hit the button, so I'll acknowledge it. It's good stuff. Dr. Jen's Den with 2 N. I will mention that. And audio bio is okay, and then the onboarding stuff. So take us behind your talk, meaning summarize the talk in about 2 minutes. Don't say, well, first they asked me to speak.
No, I got you.
Don't do that. Yeah, everybody else, the first 20 people did that, and I'm like, no, I got to tell them. And then half of them still said, well, they asked me to. I'm like, didn't I say that?
So you're good with me.
Then we're going to have a conversation. Then we're going to have a blitz round. I have a little commercial break in for that. Then we're going to have the final word of advice. The blitz round, if you've listened to any, those are the either-or questions about the actual prep and performance, and that's when we pivot a little bit, which is good. Awesome topic, Andrea says. So glad you feel that way, and this is going to be some great stuff here today. So great, Jen. Any questions for me before we go? I call this like the second level or third level inception dream of recording. Because we're Facebook Live, we're going to go into the recorder, then we're going to go out of the recorder, but we're still going to be in the little Inception Facebook Live and take care of that, and then we're going to finally have a private conversation again. That's how it's going to go. So don't hang up on me until we have the private conversation, because
don't start swearing when we're still live somewhere.
Well, Facebook Live, it's all good Facebook Live, but it's less work for my audio people, Yeah, there has been one cuss word, and I got to use the bleeper button once, and that was actually to this day, I am biased. We all are biased, and that would be Dr. Peter Buckland of Penn State University, TEDx Penn, and he's also professor at Penn State. He gave a great talk. You're going to want this, Jen, because growing up in the 80s, my gosh, what were our authority figures saying? Don't listen to that heavy metal music and don't play it back. So his talk is on the morality of heavy metal music. And he gets on, he says, well, our parents were right, first of all. 90% of it was junk. But I'm talking about the good 10%. And then he does this brilliant deconstruction of Metallica. And it was just this nuanced deconstruction. And it was just great. It was just so fun. It was like a really educated Mensa version of Beavis and Butthead. Conversation, and it was just, we're both in character for not that we channeled them. It was actually, we're having a very intelligent conversation about how we were right. The Metallica was right, and all of our parents and authority figures were wrong. So that don't get too nervous out there. Facebook Live, where Dr. Jen is on here because she is nuanced. She is very capable of really putting the seriousness of the issue of which we're going to talk about, and that you look at her TEDx talk and she puts the seriousness and the weight of it first, and she also says it in a very timely way. She has some visuals that are contextually arguably appropriate probably for most people. And that's why she's here, because I mean, we got to talk about this stuff, and I'm really glad that you're here, Dr. Jen. So
me too.
Thank you so much. That being said, it sounds like I'm setting you up, and I've already started, but I haven't. So
I know.
I'm just trying to train, and this is funny because we've already got 4 hearts and 3 likes, which is several times more than we've had all day. Okay.
Yay.
So, I mean, everybody's feeling welcome. Everybody's ready to jump in on this. And if you have a comment or question, we will address that at the end of the recording. And it sounds like there's an awful lot of engagement, or people in the woodwork, identifying themselves with your likes and your loves. So,
awesome.
If I'm not careful, I'm going to way overshoot Dr. Jen's time slot, even though she's the final speaker of the day.
I'm like, you're not letting me talk yet, Nathan.
I know. I'm just being so careful. This is more about me than everybody else, which is not good.
I was actually about to say that, and I was like, I'll bite my tongue now.
Oh, thanks.
I'm learning a lot about you and your views, Nathan.
Well,
and I haven't even talked yet.
Here's the view. We need to talk about this stuff, and I really appreciate the way that you go about it. So,
thank you.
And I'm also really, kind of nervous of being on Facebook Live right now with all, family, friends, extended family, all of that. So I'm just putting all the little safety disclaimers and all that. And uncles, aunts, family members, siblings, all of that. It's time to talk about this stuff.
You're all welcome.
Oh, and when I said that, all the likes, this is crazy. All right. We are live in 3, 2. We are live with Jennifer Gunsaullus. Jennifer, are you ready to talk?
Oh, I am always ready to talk, especially about sex-related topics.
Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus, Ph.D., sociologist and sex coach, is a frequent speaker about couples intimacy, sexual consent, and mindful sex. She's presented 2 TEDx talks and is a writer on sex and relationships. Dr. Jen has 1.5 million hits on her educational YouTube channel, In the Den with Dr. Jen, YouTube video series. Dr. Jen Gunsaullus, welcome to the talk.
Thank you. Good to be here, Nathan.
Your TEDx Phoenixville talk is all about female sexual shame hurts us all. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate the nuanced way and the way that you put the urgency, the humanity, and the inhumanity of female sexual shame in our world front and center while doing it in a very engaging way. So please just take us behind the talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me give you a quick summary. I have some notes here just to keep me on track. But yeah, so I'm talking about sexual empowerment and what that is. And my definition of that is, that we have recognition that we have choices and that we're able to act on them. And so sexual disempowerment is not having the ability or control to make decisions about our sexuality or our bodies, or being taught that we shouldn't or that we don't have control. And so then I used lots of examples around the world, and I was looking internationally, and I was looking at sex trafficking and female genital cutting and rape as a systematic tactic of war. But then I'm like, lest you think this happens out there, like, look at our own country, and looking at like clear cases like, a few years ago, the Steubenville, Ohio rape case, and just how it was like laughed at and brushed under the rug, and it was such a clear-cut rape case, and how it's just brushed under the rug and not taken seriously in our country, or women who speak out about birth control or reproductive rights are called sluts and are personally attacked. And then just something that may seem mundane, but like women faking orgasms, which happens a lot. And the theme I see in all of that, the underlying theme is shame. And shame being used to control women's bodies and minds. But then I take it to a place that I want to make it real for all audience members. And I guide them through a kind of a mindfulness visualization exercise where I really want them to sit with the feeling of shame. And that is a very visceral, uncomfortable feeling. And I guide them through a personal exercise. I have everybody close their eyes. And then I really just hit home with the impact of this internalized shame, which we carry in many ways around our sexualities and our bodies, that it hurts us all. Personally, it hurts our relationships. It hurts, all the women that have been impacted in some way. And I think to make it contemporary, because this was probably like 4 years ago I did this talk, with the Me Too movement, we now know that pretty every woman in your life has been, sexually pushed in some way or sexually harassed in a workplace. So we know that this has a huge impact. And I use the example of Elizabeth Smart, that was kidnapped back in 2002 and was, raped daily and held captive for 9 months and had a chance to escape a few times, but was taught through her religion that if you're not a virgin, you're worthless, basically. And so she didn't escape because she's like, I'm worthless anyway. And I mean, and that is the heart of sexual shame. And that how particularly many women, but many of us overall, carry aspects of sexual shame. And that is not a good way to go through life. It's not a fun way. It's not a way to connect deeply, intimacy with others, and it impacts our self-esteem and just, just our deepest sense of self. So that kind of sums it up.
Well, that's a great summary, and that guided exercise when you said, have you ever been told? Imagine that you were told that you were, this, that, the other thing.
Right.
Such a powerful way for everyone in the audience as well as the online audience to be able to actually feel those feelings. And what I want to do is just bring everybody together on this podcast. You're listening to this. You may be on one side of the aisle. You might be on the other side of the aisle. You might have all kinds of different beliefs. But I want you to hear the central issue that Dr. Jen is attacking, which we should all be against shaming other people, controlling other people in unethical ways. I'm not talking about being a parent and guiding your children, but what happens when, as a parent, we don't guide in the appropriate way. This is what happens when we don't take the leadership and step up proactively. And Dr. Jen, I mean, I've been very aware of the horrible statistic. I think 50% of women and 30% of men have been abused. I mean, those have been, or 40%, whatever it is, they've been too high for too long, and it's been going on. But you brought up Me Too. To the extent where the systems and the power plays and the actual stories, that was the stories behind the statistics, is the disturbing thing. And really, as a man, it's like you think behind that story and you think, have I ever been in a powerful position, and have I ever said anything that I didn't think I was, not even trying to be harmful or whatever, right, and being taken a completely different way. And I think for all of us, it's not about being afraid of one another. It's about being able, and I think my wife would agree with this, number one, because I like to just say silly things or just go off the cuff. But if I can do something to try to be more restrained in just kind of my normal little careful what I say, but just my little comments or just the way that is, I thought was a way that I interact. If I can take a few steps away from that line so that other people don't misunderstand, and I'm not being misunderstood, and I'm not anywhere close to that, and I can model safety and leadership for other people, I'm happy to do it. And maybe that's part of this podcast today. It's a little bit of new ground, and I really just appreciate the way, I know I said this before, I appreciate the way that you make this about the front and center issue. So I know there's a backstory with this, and I know that there are powerful things that you're seeing through your advocacy as well. So I'd love for you to take this in any direction you'd like to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of directions to go with it, but I was just thinking about what you were just sharing and saying. I mean, and I think what's so missing is, and why Me Too really stands out is that as women, we hit a tipping point that all of a sudden enough voices were being heard and believed. And then, I mean, because all of us, like I said, it's like every woman I know in some way, or another, myself included, has experienced this. And then once you start reading these stories and seeing everybody, and then you start remembering, you're like, oh my God, yeah, that's right. My first job when I was 19, totally forgot about that. Wasn't even showing up on my radar, but it's insidious. And I think often it's not intended, right? There are malicious things out there, but it's often not intended. And what's been missing is the voice of women, and women being believed. I mean, because so often, women who speak up about some injustice or something do get shamed for it or get judged for it. So we have that voice in a new way. And so I think one of the most important things is to be like, okay, you're calling me out on something. That's really uncomfortable. I didn't think I did anything wrong. I don't know what's going on, but you know what? I'm actually going to listen to you, and I'm going to ask questions because I don't get your perspective. And I think what's been done overall is just that perspective is dismissed. And now if we can actually be in a state of inquiry around it, which takes a lot of humility to acknowledge that someone else's perspective is different than your own. A lot of humility to recognize that, you know, I might have done something harmful that I didn't even know because we grew up with totally different social norms and we're in different bodies. And I don't know what it is to be a woman who can't walk at nighttime outside and has lived your whole life like that. Like that you have a fear that's built into what it is to be in a female body in a way, you know, many men will never understand. And so, yeah, so I think this voice, this listening, and we definitely need a whole lot more compassion. And like I said, taking a humble approach to it, which is hard because, you know, that's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. You don't know everything.
Yeah, and
it's hard to admit.
Part of the benefit with hearing these stories, it's not a benefit. It's it's difficult to listen to these stories. But what and I'll just put it this way, and I'm being completely subjective in the way that I'm saying this, but maybe perhaps the way that a average, there's no such thing as an average man, but we thought maybe the line was at 8 or 9 or certainly a 10. And you hear these stories, and it sounds maybe in a man's mind, oh, I thought that was maybe a 3 or a 4. I didn't even mean that to be, but it's so much more nuanced. It's so much more delicate. And then as men, speaking personally, you got that fight or flight response. So you kind of almost want to just completely run away, not deal with it. And you can do that in so many ways, especially if you have a leadership position. Yep. So I guess the question that I don't want to particularly ask, but I think that a lot of men need to hear, and I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this, is, if you're a man and some of these you're in leadership and some of these things start surfacing, and maybe, tragically there are leaders who are right at the ends of they're about to go into their legacy and retire, and we're seeing, here in Philadelphia, won't mention, but our favorite America's Dad, very, very timely. And so what do you do if, as a man, to listen and to make people feel heard and safe and be willing to do that? I know that's not enough, but is it a start, and what else can we do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for asking this. I got to actually give, because I travel around the country as a public speaker around sexual topics and relationship topics and mindfulness. And I got to speak just a few weeks ago in New Orleans to a group of like high-end CEOs and presidents of companies, about 50 or 60 of them, specifically about Me Too in the workplace. And I'm like, this is, I'm not giving you the HR perspective. I'm definitely not your HR person because I talk about lots of sex stuff that would make every HR department cringe. But I'm like, we need to be taking a much more, compassionate and mindful approach. And that's what I use at the core of all my work. And that means asking questions. It means, what I was saying already. And I used an acronym of PAGE, P-A-G-E, of getting on the same page. One is being present. And so that's using mindfulness skills and of recognizing tone of voice, recognizing, are you towering over someone? Is someone backing away from you? Has somebody suddenly gone quiet? So really learning nuances of that. The A, oh, shoot. I haven't talked about this in a few weeks, and I already forgot.
P was presence, right? P was being present.
P was
so
president,
we'll review, because I'm taking mental notes here. I can't write and listen and be present if I'm taking notes. So P was present.
A is ask questions.
A is ask questions.
A, which I already said. The G is giving generous intent. In that, because that's been going on for years, that women haven't believed, or, oh, she's just trying to work her way up, or she's trying to cause, problems and get attention. Or I will tell you, it doesn't feel good as a woman, doesn't feel good as anybody to challenge people, particularly when you know the backlash you're going to get. And women always get backlash on these topics. Anybody on the, even if it's a man coming forward with a sexual harassment thing, they will always get backlash. Like, that's not a fun place to be in. And then the last piece, which ties it all together, is empathy. And, and that brings in that humility and that vulnerability and that empathy piece. So, all of those. I mean, they're basic. What it comes down to is it's basic emotional intelligence skills and social intelligence skills, and the humility to practice those and realize, okay, there's things I don't know that I don't know around these, and the only way you're going to learn is by being really uncomfortable and listening and creating safe spaces for that. So,
Paige, be present. Ask questions, generous intent, and empathy.
Empathy, yeah.
We've been enjoying this talk with Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus. Her TEDx Phoenixville talk is called Female Sexual Shame Hurts Us All. And in a moment, we're going to be right back with Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus in the Blitz Round. And we're going to pivot and talk about your talk and the mechanics behind her talk.
Awesome.
And we're back with the Blitz Round. It's Jennifer Gunsaullus, and our time is right now where we are going to enter the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Dr. Jennifer a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent 2 TEDx talks. Are you ready, Dr. Jennifer?
Let's do this.
All right. Number 1, were you selected to speak or did you apply?
I applied.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
A blender. So I rehearse it so heavily and memorize it so then it's so comfortable I can ad-lib.
And that's where the page comes in. You can be present in the moment and,
absolutely.
And blend that. Yeah. That's a nice little blend. And
really make it real and bring my energy to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now, when you walk out there, did you have nerves or were you in the zone or neither or both?
At this point, I do so much public speaking. However, this is the TEDx thing. It was my second TEDx, but, this topic I'm so passionate about, and I want the video to be impactful out there and for the audience. So, yeah, I was nervous, but it lasts only about 30, 45 seconds. Mm-hmm. And I feel my legs shaking a little bit. And then because I'm so prepared, then I'm in it, Yeah.
What's a tip, a technique, or a tool that helps you prepare?
Well, I would actually say, so we're lucky at the Phoenixville one. Our MC for the event is the TED lecture finder person. Like she, the main TED thing, like this is what she does. And so she knows all the insides and outs. And so she was in our green room and gave us our pep talk ahead of time. And she goes, if anything happens, if you lose your train of thought or whatever, just pause, say it. Turn if you need to, and then come back. And she goes, and we will edit it out. She goes, that happens all the time on the TED stage. And she goes, but you never know it from the videos. And that is all I needed to hear because I knew my talk so well, but it always is, what if I freeze up? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that was perfect. That was great.
Yeah, it's kind of like an open book test in that way. If you have that moment of panic, you can just stall, be mindful, be present, deep breath, get a drink of water, and start right back up, and they'll cut that stuff right out.
Right, so you don't have to worry about your 18-minute time limit. You're still under it, yeah.
And now this is, speaking of cutting things out, this is the cut for time question. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Oh my gosh, you mean that I'd wanted to leave in,
yes.
But for time I had to cut out? I actually don't remember because this was 4 years ago. I actually don't...
But there was stuff.
I have no idea.
I bet there was stuff. All right. Is that the Ronald Reagan defense? Not to be political, but I don't remember. I don't remember.
And like I said, I do so much public speaking and so much cutting out. I'm like, that was so many talks ago, I can't remember.
All right, so it's a performance, Dr. Jen, right? So what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened to you when you were giving your talk or right before you went on stage?
I mean, there was nothing like that, but I mean, it was neat for me. Oh, so I was taking, there's often TED speakers and TEDx speakers, they don't break the fourth wall, like they're up there talking. And I do that always from a stage. And so this was the first time I tried it in a TEDx talk. And so, because I did that I had them close their eyes, and it was like, everybody closed their eyes, and people got emotional. A couple people got up and had been crying. And so it was really emotional. But there was a point where I wanted audience feedback just to shout things out. And I had 2 different people planted in the audience to shout things out just in case no one else shouted things out. But other people did shout out. So I was like, yes, I'm like, it worked. Like, it all worked. It all worked really well. So that was
I love that you prepared mindfully, put little plants in the audience, but you didn't even need to fall back. Yeah. you had enough spontaneity and response and connection that you didn't even need to fall back. That's brilliant. Well, we've been enjoying this talk with Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus, and before we go over to the final word of advice, I want to let you know where you can actually go to watch these talks. You can go to our show notes page, bethetalk.com. Her TEDx Phoenixville, which is right outside of here in Philadelphia, is called Female Sexual Shame Hurts Us All, and we'll have a link to that talk. We will also have a link to Dr. Jen's website. It is drjensden.com, Jen with 2 N, S, and den.com. We'll see how that is. I thought that would be a little smoother to actually read. But
not make them complicated.
Yeah, drjensden.com with the DR and 2 N on the Jen. And drjensden.com is the website. And in a moment, we will be back with Dr. Jen Gunsaullus with the final word of advice for You Talk Universe. And we're back with the final word of advice for Talk Universe with Dr. Jennifer Gunsaullus.
And you want this on sex or on speaking?
Can
I do both?
You pick.
Do I have time?
Pick one.
Oh, I want to do both.
Give us one of each. Breaking the mold.
I'll do them quick. So in terms of sexual shame, just because so many people have sexual shame, like the tool I used in all my work and clients and speaking is using mindfulness and guided mindfulness exercises. And I think that's amazing because that's where you really get present with the discomfort of it. And until we really sit and breathe through the discomfort of sexual shame, we're going to keep getting blocked by it and shut down by it. And so if anybody's looking for a tool, and people can email me and I can send them for places to find resources in that. Second, in terms of speaking, this is a TEDx talk. This is a big deal. You want your video out there and you really want people to see it and like it and to spread and to, raise your name and your voice and your career. You cannot prepare enough for this. And I prepared the whole thing and the PowerPoint, and then I had 5 friends and colleagues over and I ran through a whole practice with them, got their feedback, wrote it down, reworked some of the slides. And like I said, I memorized it so much to the point that then I could make it my own and still be comfortably within the time frame. So,
Dr. Jen Gunsaullus, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
My pleasure.
And that's a wrap. That was a short 20 minutes. My gosh, it goes by very quickly. Yeah. You see how nervous I was getting? We're still on Facebook Live, but I'm like, I got to ask this question.
I you built this up for a long time.
And I got to ask this question in a way that doesn't look too incriminating, because I'm really asking it on behalf and all of that. So I'm like, just ask the question, Nathan. So, and you like the question, so good. It's good. Actually, really encouraging, empowering. I think for all the ladies watching this as well, and for the men, we're all in this together. We're all in this together, and I think the thing, and I'll still stay on kind of Facebook Live record. The thing that really kind of it causes me to just kind of not dig in my heels, but be slow to move is every 10 minutes there's a new thing that pops up, and it's like, don't stay silent. And I'm thinking there's an analytical part of me and a human part of me that says there are 2 sides to everything. So, the more I just jump in to make people feel like I'm in solidarity, then the more things fall. And I'm like, I don't want to do that either. So I need to know how to, respond in a way to let people know I'm on their side without being super reactionary and not being able to produce a 7-day-a-week podcast because I'm, in these threads and trying to let everybody know I'm a champion for everyone.
And I think part of that is just is the empathy piece. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be like, oh, that guy was so wrong or did it or whatever if you don't have all the facts, but you can say, like, I'm so sorry you had this experience, and I'm so sorry you're struggling with this experience. Like, that sounds really disempowering for you. And just that empathy piece, because, regardless of who's right or not. Generally, most people that are coming forward, very few are doing it because they want the publicity of it. Because like I said, people get attacked. Like, it's devastating to people's lives often. I mean, even I read a statistic around sexual harassment, and majority, and I think this was specifically women, majority of women that came forward with sexual harassment claims, they weren't like in their company like a year later. Like, they don't, like, it doesn't work out for them.
Culturally, I mean, it's the end of things. When you're rocking the boat to that degree and heads on some level, right. I mean, it is, it's like a reverse scarlet letter, I think, is what it is. Because you take it to that, and it's the reverse scarlet letter, because you can't put the, my mentor says you can't put the shaving cream back in the, in the can. Right. It's out, and there are ramifications, and yet to deny that is to deny your own, personhood, your own integrity, and to open the door, as we're seeing now, for so many multitudes of other people to be impacted.
Yeah.
Are you happy we're at the? We're still Facebook living, but are you happy? At least it's not a happy moment for women, and it's not a happy moment for men, certainly. No. But are you glad to see at least that things are blowing up, and at least we're having to listen to each other, and it's getting out there?
So overall, yes, I think Me Too. Right, I kept waiting. I'm like, we're getting closer to a tipping point. We're getting closer, and so we hit our tipping point, and this will make, I believe, drastic, sustainable changes in our society. Are there casualties in the wake of that? Yes. Are there unfair accusations on social media and people being irresponsible? Yeah. We unfortunately get all of that. But I'd say the majority of what's, out there and happening is true and is ubiquitous and insidious in our society, and something that all women pretty much know. And depending on how you were raised, some women were taught, well, yeah, you just suck up and deal. That's what it is. And men are in power, and that's how it is. And other people were raised to be like, this isn't okay, and I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And, so it's, yes. So I think the good overall, and like I said, there's casualties along the way, which sucks, on all sides. But our society needed this. It was about time, and social media helped it explode. Like, this couldn't have happened 10 years ago. Oh, sure. And our cultural zeitgeist wasn't ready for it anyway. So, yeah.
Facebook Live, ask those questions. Even though we're not going to be Facebook Live more than a few moments longer, we're going to spare Dr. Jen here. She's been awesome, and we're going to have a private offline conversation. I'll find out how we really did here. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for the likes and the comments and all of that. And Dr. Jen will still be looking at this and able to respond as she's able, I'm sure. So take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.